Welcome to your Fantasy Football Recap. I'm your host, Krim Barflow. Returning from what was hopefully a bountiful Thanksgiving for all, we start this week's recap with the aptly named Team Hot Logs, clinging ever so desperately to playoff aspirations against Team Apathetic. Putting up one of his better point totals of the season on the backs of Devon Achane, Tua Tagovailoa, and the Rogaine Warrior Keenan Allen, Logan had no problems defeating Cody by a final of 184 to 127. Now to this week's gimme game, obviously involving the Schmucks against Will Levis's baby arm. John has understandably thrown in the towel this season and will henceforth be legally changing his name to Jason as to better suit his fantasy football ability. Of no surprise, it was a shoo-in victory for Grant by a final tally of 154 to 90. This week's alpha was none other than Tua and a half Burrows. It was a strong showing for Mike, as Jackson Smith-Njigba was his lowest point scorer with a reasonable 15-point performance. On the other side, Brock Strong Bowers seems to be the only player keeping Chris's playoff dreams alive, as he put up yet another monster performance, albeit in vain, as Mike dismantled Chris 218 to 138. Next up, it's a brotherly battle that pits the league top dogs, Houday and the Blowfish, against reigning champions, Hakuna and Jigba. Flexing his mighty prowess, Alex was able to upset the high-flying Blowfish. This was Chuck's first real loss since week 1, not including his bye-week game starting JV players. Top analysts are speculating that this upset has scared the Blowfish manager of a potential playoff matchup against his more handsome sibling, and thus it would appear he plans on taking the smarter fantasy manager's approach from last year, allowing the much weaker Team Cody a free win in the upcoming matchup, increasing the odds that Cody reaches the postseason and that our honorable and noble champions come up short. Now, to Pack's interference for this week's Game of the Week.
Thanks, Krim. This week we have a battle between the top two teams in the West, the Critical Hits and Olave Garden, in a match that looked to propel Dalton into the postseason. Instead, we saw Derek pummel his adversary into the mud.
Let's go, Critical Hits! Woo!
Anyways, it was Bucky, Irving, Jonnu Smith, and Bijan Robinson carrying Derek to another victory by a final score of 177 to 139. Back to you, Krim.
Thanks, Pax. Now, a look at the standings as we head into the final week before playoffs. 3 teams are locked in, with the 1 seeds already decided. The overall 1 belongs to Chuck and Houday and the Blowfish. Next, with a week 1 bye, belongs to playoff regulars, the Critical Hits. And the final playoff lock belongs to league newcomer Mike and Tua and a half Burrows. The remaining 3 spots are still technically up for grabs between Hakuna and Jigba, Team Cody, Olave Garden, Seymour Audible, and ever so slightly, Will Levis's baby arm. As it stands, the final 3 are Cody, Alex, and Dalton. And there are just too many scenarios to cover here. The most likely outcome is that these are your 6 playoff teams, and that the only shifting will be within the seedings. As always, best of luck, competitors. Except Cody, and Dalton, and Chris, and Grant.